The afternoon sun streams through the kitchen window as Margaret and Betty finish their tea and biscuits. Margaret. Well, Betty, I feel like I've learned so much today. But it's still a bit overwhelming, trying to remember all these strong passwords. Betty. I understand, Margaret. It's a lot to take in. But luckily there are tools to help us keep track of everything. Have you ever heard of a password manager? Margaret. A password manager. Is that like a little notebook for the computer? Betty. Sort of. It's like a digital safe where you can store all your passwords. You only need to remember one master password to unlock the safe, and then all your other passwords are protected inside. Margaret. That sounds convenient. But what if I forget that master password? Betty. That's the tricky part. It's like losing the key to your safe, so you have to choose something memorable but strong. But the good thing is, most password managers also help you create new, very strong passwords for each website. Margaret. So I wouldn't have to come up with those long sentences anymore. Betty. Exactly. The password manager can generate them for you and even fill them in automatically when you visit a website. It's quite handy, really. Margaret. It does sound tempting. But what if something happens to that password manager? What if the company goes out of business or something? Betty. That's a valid concern, Margaret. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket. Some people prefer the old-fashioned way, a password journal. Margaret. A journal? You mean like a diary? Betty. Exactly. You simply write down all your passwords in a notebook and keep it somewhere safe. No technology to worry about, just good old-fashioned pen and paper. Margaret. That does sound simple, but what if I lose the journal? Or someone finds it? Betty. Those are the risks, Margaret. It's like keeping all your valuables in a jewelry box. You have to be extra careful with it. But you can add an extra layer of security by using that secret code we talked about, and maybe even using symbols or little drawings instead of writing the full password. Margaret. That's a good idea. So, it's really a matter of choosing what works best for me, isn't it? Betty. Exactly. Weigh the pros and cons, and decide what feels most comfortable and secure for you. And remember, whether you choose a password manager or a journal, keep those master passwords or that journal in a very safe place. Margaret nods thoughtfully, reaching for her notebook. Margaret. Well, Betty, I have a lot to think about. But thanks to you, I feel much more prepared to tackle this whole password puzzle. And who knows, maybe I'll even become a tech-savvy senior citizen. The two friends share a warm smile, ready to embrace the digital world with confidence, armed with their newfound knowledge and a touch of old-fashioned wisdom.